Water gushed across my yard, pooling where it shouldn't. My main water pipe was cut clean, capped with duct tape, and marked with a sign, "Unauthorized water use, Oak Valley HOA enforcement." The crazy part? The HOA had no power over my land. But Sharon Miller didn't know I built the water system her whole neighborhood depends on. She just made a huge mistake. It started after a 3-day fishing trip. I go off the grid once a month to relax by the river, catch fish, and enjoy quiet, no phone, no emails, just sandwiches and peace. But when I got back to my ranch and turned on the tap to fill my dog's bowl, nothing came out. No pressure. The hose was dry, and the sinks didn't work. I walked to my fence line and saw it. My main water pipe, where it runs to my pasture, was cut. The ground was dug up, with tire tracks and boot prints around a capped pipe wrapped in bright Oak Valley HOA tape. A sign on a stake read, in bossy words, that unapproved water sources were shut off by HOA rules. I stared for 5 minutes, shocked. My 47-acre ranch was never part of the HOA, not in any paper, lease, or county record. That pipe was mine, from my reservoir, built with my hands, and a backhoe I rented in 1993. I checked my land, no other damage, but I noticed something. The tire tracks matched a silver Jeep SUV, and one boot print had a broken heel. Sharon. I'd know her sparkly sandals anywhere. She wore them like she was a movie star, even when bossing neighbors. The way the Jeep backed onto my grass? Only Sharon, the HOA president, would think she could cross my land just because she had a clipboard. I stayed calm, like any smart rancher would. I took pictures, noted the damage, and walked to my barn, humming. Not because I was happy, but because I knew something Sharon didn't. Long ago, when the Oak Valley neighborhood was planned, the builders didn't want to pay for city water. I made a deal. I'd share my water line for their 30 homes, and they'd pay a small monthly fee and keep their pump working. The papers were filed in county records. When the HOA got new leaders, they forgot to renew the deal. It ended 10 years ago, but the system was still mine. Every drop in their sprinklers, toilets, and fish ponds came from my land. Now, they cut my pipe, thinking they were punishing me. Sharon probably bragged at her HOA meeting, thinking she'd beaten the rebel rancher. She might have given out stickers to her rule-following friends. But she'd just handed me control. In my barn, behind hay bales, was a breaker box with 3 switches, one for my irrigation, one for pressure, and one labeled backup flow gate that controlled the whole HOA system. I flipped it off with one finger. Instantly, 29 homes, a clubhouse, and 2 fancy fountains went dry. By evening, I heard Sharon yelling from far off, something about the Smith's pool emptying or the Wilson kids clogging a toilet with cereal. Someone called a plumber, then the county. I sat on my porch with a soda, watching sprinklers sputter and die across the neighborhood. I didn't want revenge at first, but when someone cuts your water, slaps a rude sign on it, and acts like they own you after you've kept their lawns green for years, it's personal. Sharon wanted to show her power over a guy who avoided her rules. She didn't know real control is holding the valve. As the sun set and panicked HOA emails flew, I leaned back, tipped my hat, and whispered to my dog, Buddy, who finally got water from a well bucket, "Let the show start." Sharon's face tomorrow, when she couldn't even wash her hands, would be epic. By sunrise, Oak Valley was a mess. Sharon's perfect neighborhood, which she bragged about like it was her kingdom, was falling apart. Sprinklers stayed off, fountains stood still, and bathroom taps were dry. Neighbors twisted knobs, confused. The neighborhood chat exploded with complaints, each more upset than the last. Sharon acted calm at first, texting that it was a short fix and a plumber was coming. But by mid-morning, when her own lawn wilted and her fish pond got slimy, she couldn't hide it. I sat on my porch with coffee and binoculars, watching like it was a TV show. Sharon stormed around in a white shirt, clipboard in hand, yelling at neighbors. I saw her kick a garden gnome and slip on a wet sidewalk from yesterday's overwatering. She banged on the Browns' door, scolding Mrs. Brown for illegal water use, even though no water flowed. Then she pointed at my land, waving her arms like I was a bad guy in her story. I walked to the gate between my ranch and the neighborhood, not to fight, just to see. Sharon spotted me and rushed over, face red, voice loud. "You turned off the water, didn't you?" "I know it." I stayed cool. "Me? I've been here, minding my business. Maybe your board cut the wrong pipe when they messed with my land." Her eyes got big. She hadn't thought of that. She was so busy acting powerful, she didn't realize she'd touched something she didn't understand. Still, she didn't back down. "You were stealing HOA water. That pipe was illegal. I fixed it." "You mean the pipe I built before your HOA started?" I said. "The one from my reservoir, made in '93? Just checking." Sharon froze, her mouth opening, then closing. She didn't know where the water came from, she just thought she controlled everything. She tried again. "Then why is the HOA dry when your valve's off?" "Because you never built your own system," I said. "You've used mine for years. Your HOA was supposed to renew a lease with me. They didn't. You're all using my system without permission. I own every drop in that pipe." "You're lying," she snapped. "Nope," I said. "County records prove it. Check them, next to the papers saying your rules don't touch my land." She went quiet, her confidence cracking. That silence was better than her dry lawn. By lunch, the HOA chat was a war zone. A neighbor I trusted, Henry, who hated Sharon for finding his peach tree, sent me screenshots. Sharon was losing it, trying to calm everyone. The board was confused, residents were mad, kids cried because the clubhouse splash pad was dry, and some wanted to end the HOA. Plumbers came, but couldn't fix it. One guy rented a water truck to fill his tank, but it didn't help. The neighborhood relied on my system, and without my pump, their pipes were empty. I'd built it as a favor long ago, and now that favor was over. That afternoon, a blue truck pulled up. A plumber, Carlos, got out and walked over politely. "Sir, the HOA told me to reconnect a pipe here, but I think this is your land." "You're right," I said. "That pipe's mine. If you touch it without my okay, I'll report trespassing." Carlos tipped his hat. "No problem, sir. I won't touch it. I've seen HOA messes before. I'll mark it no access and charge them for my time." I liked him. I gave him a soda, and we chatted on the porch. He said this wasn't his worst HOA job that month. At sunset, I checked my mailbox. Inside was a $10,000 fine from Sharon for illegal water use. I laughed, set it on my desk, and wrote a letter, not to the HOA, but to every Oak Valley homeowner. I explained the water system's history, the expired lease, and offered to restore water for a fair monthly fee, but only if Sharon quit. I'd deliver these letters by morning, giving residents a choice: water back, lawns green, but Sharon had to go. Before dawn, I walked Oak Valley's streets, slipping a letter on every doorstep. Each was personal, with clear facts. I built the system, the lease ended, Sharon cut my pipe illegally, and now, for water, she had to resign, and they'd sign a cheap agreement. No tricks, just fair. I didn't expect how fast things would blow up. While feeding my chickens, I heard Sharon yelling, waving my letter like it was poison, screaming at a neighbor about blackmail. She marched up and down, calling someone on her phone, maybe a lawyer. At first, some residents hesitated. Change is slow in Oak Valley. But by noon, my phone buzzed. Mr. Carter from the West Side left a voicemail thanking me and saying he'd sign the deal to get water back. Then a woman who'd lived there 20 years said she was sick of Sharon's fines, like one for parking slightly wrong, and supported me. More calls came until my voicemail was full. The neighborhood was teaming up. That afternoon, Sharon called an emergency HOA meeting, texting and sending flyers for a water update at the clubhouse. I couldn't resist. I cleaned up, put on a nice shirt, and sat in the back, watching. Sharon stood up front, sweaty, makeup messy, yelling that my water cutoff was mean and I was a liar trying to rob the HOA. She said she had lawyers and everything was fine. Then Mr. Lee, a quiet man who rarely spoke, stood up. He'd checked my lease papers and county records. As a retired lawyer, he said I was right. The HOA had no claim to my water and Sharon's pipe cutting might be vandalism. The room went silent. Sharon's face turned pale. People started asking questions. Why did Sharon spend money on ugly HOA statues? Why did she pick who followed rules? Why no board elections? Sharon tried to take charge, announcing a barbecue the next evening to unite everyone, promising a water truck to fill the fountains. It felt desperate. I didn't stop her. That morning, I turned on a tiny bit of water to one clubhouse spigot, just to see what she'd do. That evening, I watched from my fence. The barbecue had grills, chairs, and neighbors sipping warm soda, no ice. The water truck never came, and the portable toilets, unwashed for days, stank. Sharon set up a misting fan to cool everyone, hooked to the spigot I'd rigged with a filter for sulfur well water. When she turned it on, a rotten egg smell sprayed everyone. A woman screamed, a grill tipped over, a kid cried. The fan died in 30 seconds, the hose hissing air. The party fell apart. Sharon stood soaked, red-faced and still as neighbors left, shaking their heads. She was finished, and she knew it. Back at the ranch, I didn't cheer yet. Sharon wouldn't quit easily. But cutting my pipe started a fight she couldn't win. I hadn't even used my backup reservoir, and if she tried again, I had neighbors, proof, and the law. After the barbecue mess, support grew fast. By morning, 3 houses had water jugs out, with notes saying they'd signed my deal. A 4th had a sign, "We want water, not HOA lies." Sharon's control was crumbling. Then I saw her again in sweats and big sunglasses, thinking she was sneaky. Her Jeep with HOA1 plates, parked by my fence. She crouched with a toolbox, digging up the pipe she'd cut, trying to steal water again. I wasn't mad, I was amazed at her nerve. I called the sheriff, saying someone was tampering with my pipe, with video proof. While waiting, I flipped a barn switch, activating a valve that sprayed red dye and safe foam. Not harmful, just messy. Sharon screamed, dropping her wrench, covered in pink goo, and ran. 15 minutes later, Sheriff's Deputy Tom, who knew me, arrived. "Morning, Frank. Got your call. Show me the video." In the barn, I played the footage, Sharon digging, tools out, pipe open. Tom whistled. "Trespassing, vandalism, stealing utilities. We'll bring her in." They found Sharon wiping foam off her arms. She lied, saying she was checking community pipes. Tom didn't buy it, telling her to save it for court. She followed them in her Jeep, pink and humiliated, as neighbors watched. News spread fast. Video screenshots hit the Oak Valley chat. Residents were shocked, some mad, a few still defending her, but no one could excuse trespassing. Then a reporter, Lisa, knocked on my door. She talked to neighbors who signed my deal and wanted my story. I agreed, but only if she told the truth. By my reservoir, I showed her the papers and explained the system, even the valve that cut the flow. She asked why I didn't fight sooner. "I wasn't fighting," I said. "I wanted peace. But they cut my pipe and called it right. That's not how neighbors act." The news aired that night. Rancher wins water rights after HOA sabotage. Sharon's foam-covered photo went viral, with clips of her arguing with Tom. Neighbors signed up fast. 20 homes got water back, sprinklers on, fountains bubbling. Sharon's house stayed dry. I didn't reconnect her, not out of meanness, but because she didn't sign my deal. She thought she could rewrite rules, but the water was mine. The HOA meeting was at 5 p.m., but by 4:30, the clubhouse lot was packed. People whispered, pointing at Sharon's dead lawn and wilted roses. Her house looked empty, like a haunted toy. Inside, chairs filled every corner, the air buzzing with excitement and relief. It wasn't just about water. It was about years of Sharon's bullying, like fining people for trash cans out too long or banning chalk drawings. The board president, George, a nervous guy, read a boring speech about unity. No one cared. Then he said, due to recent actions, they'd vote to remove Sharon as president forever. Cheers erupted. People shared stories. A woman said Sharon shamed her for Christmas lights. A man was fined for a wrong fence color, though it matched rules. No one defended her, not even George, sweating hard. The vote was instant, every hand up. Sharon was out in 10 minutes, ending her 10-year reign. Then George asked me to speak. I hadn't planned to, but I stood and spoke simply. I wasn't gloating. I didn't cut their water to be mean. I stopped sharing what was mine. I built the system with my hands, my money on my land, and only asked to be left alone. I offered peace, full water to every home, no interruptions, for a fair fee that wouldn't rise without agreement. But no HOA rules on my land, no inspectors, no fines. I'd respect them, and they'd respect me. The applause was steady, grateful. Neighbors shook my hand. Some said sorry for staying quiet, others thanked me. A few asked if their kids could see my chickens. That night, I sat on my porch with iced tea, watching sprinklers glow under the moon, one by one. Oak Valley was alive again, quiet, peaceful, like it should be. Sharon's house stayed dark. I sent her the same deal, no tricks, but she didn't reply. She hid, curtains shut. Rumors said she tried to sell her house, but no one bought a dry home with her bad name. Her lawn was dust, her roses sticks. My sprinkler, on a timer, sprayed just short of her driveway. By accident, of course. Oak Valley changed. The board held real votes, rules got simple, people planted flowers they loved, not HOA ones. Someone built a book-sharing box by the park. It felt friendly again. I kept my routine, feeding animals, fixing fences, tinkering in the barn. The reservoir stayed full, water flowed, and no one came to my gate with complaints. My new sign said it all: private land, private water, respect both ways. Some laughed, some nodded, knowing what it meant. 3 weeks later, Oak Valley was happy. Kids biked without helmet fines, people smiled, walking dogs without hiding from Sharon. Lawns greened up, sprinklers hummed. Life was normal, no complaints, just laughter. Sharon stayed gone, her house shut tight, mailbox stuffed. Word was she listed it for sale, but buyers asked about water and saw the foam video. One agent offered free bottled water to sell it, no takers. I'd moved on, back to my quiet life, chickens clucking, cats napping in the sun. But I hadn't shared one thing, waiting for true peace. One evening, as clouds glowed gold, I showed Mr. Lee, the lawyer who backed me, my secret. Past the reservoir everyone knew, behind a vine-covered pump house, was my real water source, a well, 42 feet deep, tapping an underground spring. I built it quietly after the lease ended, knowing I might need to prove who controlled the water. Mr. Lee nodded. "That's the calmest fight I've ever seen," he said. We laughed, smelling his wife's pie. Later, an anonymous flyer called my deal unfair, demanding the HOA build its own system. Most trashed it, some laughed, bringing it to me. One asked for a camera on the HOA board, joking Sharon might sneak back. I didn't need cameras, my system was safe, with consequences for anyone who tried. A county worker came, checking private utilities after a tip, probably Sharon. I showed him the reservoir, well, pipes and papers. He took photos, signed a form saying all was legal, and said, "This is so clean, you could teach it." Sharon's house went dark soon after. Movers took her stuff, a rusty car followed, and she left without a wave. No one waved back. The storm was gone. The HOA rewrote its rules, and Oak Valley belonged to its people, not Sharon's fines. My sign stayed up: private land, private water, mutual respect required. Every morning, sprinklers clicked on, not because I forced it, but because I kept my promise. I didn't want to fight, just quiet. I didn't want power, just peace. All it took was a pipe, a plan, and patience to let truth win.